Hi, I'm Stephanie Clegg. I'm a licensed associate counselor. I am also a member of the National Board of Certified Counselors, as well as a member of the American Association of Christian Counselors. So, welcome and thank you for joining me. In honor of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I am going to create content, some posts, some short videos to share with you regarding various mental health topics. So, we'll talk about some prevalent mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression. We'll talk about strategies to manage mental health, such as coping skills and communication skills. One of my favorite terms that we'll talk about is situationship. Are you in a relationship or a situationship? We'll talk about things like grief and how to handle life's transitions. A lot of people are in transition, and a lot of people are seeking mental health services or therapeutic services to handle these transitions, right? So, transitions can include anything from your kids going to college, so you have an empty nest. Some people are changing careers later in life. Some people have lost jobs and become unemployed. Some people are experiencing challenges in the changes in a relationship, romantic relationship, and some people are just suffering the loss of a loved one. So they're grieving. So, but those are life transitions, and we'll talk about some of that. If you find anything that I'm sharing with you helpful or a blessing to you, informative, please give me some feedback, give me some comments, and also share. Share with other people. Um, it's always beneficial to share anything that we learn, anything that affects, anything that blesses us can definitely be a blessing to someone else. So, for today's topic, I wanted to talk about the social media effect on mental health. So, social media has definitely increased the conversation and the dialogue about mental health. People are relying upon social media to research information on mental health, and it has actually minimized the stigma of mental health. It has facilitated that as well. Um, and I think one of the greater benefits that social media has influenced is that it allows people to normalize mental health, our mental health challenges and diagnoses, and it makes it more comfortable for people to talk about it and to share and also to seek help, which is, the main goal. So, in true social media style, while there are some benefits, um, social media also creates some concerns, and I'll just share one concern with you today. So, there are many viral posts where an oversimplified checklist is being presented of some common behaviors, and they're being presented as definitive signs of a disorder. So, in other words, if you go and Google anxiety symptoms, you'll get list of symptoms, and you may get like 15, 20, 30 lists, right? Of symptoms of anxiety, but be careful of your source. Some people, some of the presenters, if you will, are posting general everyday signs of anxiety. They are not necessarily presenting the clinical anxiety disorder symptomology. So we have to be careful of our source and what we're looking at in terms of diagnosing, a self-diagnosing, right? Because that's often what we do. We'll read a list and then we'll self-diagnose and say, well, I must have anxiety. But there's a difference between clinical anxiety disorder and everyday disorder. The clinical anxiety disorder is usually more severe, it's longer lasting, and it significantly disrupts our daily lives, which means there's challenges in our social lives, our professional lives, our personal lives, maybe even our physical lives, our physical health. And those areas become debilitating, right? They're debilitated. So there is a difference between clinical anxiety disorders and everyday disorders. So, one of the things that we have to be careful about is the casual use of clinical terminology. Sometimes we'll take a term, we'll say, oh, I'm anxious, I have anxiety. I have anxiety, right? So, when we overuse or misuse clinical terminology, what that does is minimize the severity of a mental health condition, and it also may make normal feelings seem like signs of an illness, right? So, for example, when I was younger, probably middle school, is when, if you guys remember back in the day, schools were doing scoliosis testing. So I think I came home and looked in the mirror and I thought I saw one shoulder higher than the other. And I told my mother I have scoliosis, right? So that's based on one symptom, not the full spectrum of criteria that would identify someone as having scoliosis. So there's just a caution that I'm putting out there about relying on social media and online list of symptoms. And I will say this, if you're experiencing any anxiety symptoms, for example, symptoms of depression, avoid self-diagnosing based on content online. Instead, consult a licensed mental health professional who can properly assess your situation and provide you with some evidence-based support. So I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you on the next video.